Hello everyone, and congratulations to everyone if you are watching this video right after the podcast, but even if you're not, and if you have some 2 hours of free time, do check it out. The link to the podcast will be in the description below. So after the podcast against with MVL, we decided to play one blitz game, so here I got the white pieces this time, and I did prepare for this game. It's a blitz game, so 5+0, and I prepared watching some games Hikaru played in the Chessable Masters. I prepared some Sicilian Dragon with the black. Maybe if he gets white and he goes for e4. As I watched his game against Daniil Dubov, and then I found some improvements, so I thought maybe I could use that. And also I prepared for some Queen's Gambit declined ideas for white. So as I got the white pieces, I went for d4. And like Maxime, Hikaru also surprised me already on the first move. He didn't go for any Queen's Gambit declined ideas. He went for f5, and he goes for the Dutch. And I didn't really do any research on the Dutch, like, ever. Well, I did do some Stonewall, but as I don't really know how to play it with white, I decided to go for e4 right away. I sacrificed the pawn. In the style of old masters, I'm going to play f3 on the next move and try to give up one pawn for rapid development. So Hikaru accepts it, he plays f captures on e4, and I go knight to c3, ready to recapture my pawn. He defends it with knight to f6, and I go f3 here. I want to give up this pawn and then get some nice rapid development. And here, you could accept it, you could play something like d5, also very popular in this position. However, Hikaru plays e3. He gives the pawn back, however, he gives it back by doing this. He doesn't want to keep it and allow me to go for some rapid development. Instead, he hinders my development by forcing me to place my bishop on a weird square. So d5. And bishop to d3. I just continue developing, and here he goes c5. And I thought if I should capture it or maybe just ignore it, I don't know, playing something else and deciding whether he can capture or whether he's going to push c4 at some point seemed like too much. So I just captured it, and it's important to realize that he cannot go for d4 to win material because I just captured a pawn. And if queen captures, bishop b5 check just wins his queen. So instead, here there is one game in the database where e5 was played, but here he goes for knight to c6. He prepares e5 for the next move, and it is as of move 7 that we have a completely new game. So I still have to decide whether this is ever an option, so I just play bishop to b5. I just am ready to always remove one of the defenders of d4, so it's not a problem. And he goes for e5, just grabs more space in the center, and now he has massive central control. I'm still up a pawn, but it's a double c pawn, so it's not really all that impressive. And here I go for bishop to g5, pin this knight as well. I didn't want to constantly have to calculate what happens if d4, so I played bishop to g5, and next I'm going to move the queen, castle queenside probably, and then try to deal with his massive center. He goes bishop to e6, continues development, adds one more defender to the pawn here, because I was kind of threatening bishop captures and then just winning the pawn. So bishop e6, he defends it, and now I go queen to e2. Again, with some ideas of maybe captures, or just queen captures on e5 since the knight is pinned. So he goes queen to c7. Adds a defender to the pawn here, and I castle queenside, again with the threat of, let's say, captures, and then I just win the pawn on d5. So he also castles queenside, now adds another defender here, and here there's there are a couple of ways you could treat this position. Let's say knight to a4 is an idea, adding another defender to the c5 pawn. Also interesting is just captures, because the queen cannot capture because queen captures on e5, so he would have to capture with the b pawn. But I didn't feel like this was all that much. Like, I didn't feel like I could go for some sort of a queenside attack. I'm also castled queenside, and this just strengthens his already massive center. So instead, I went for bishop to h4. I wanted to bring my bishop to g3 and grab hold of this diagonal here. He here goes for bishop captures on c5. He wins back the pawn, so now it's equal material. However, he still has a really, really strong center. And as the old saying goes, he who controls the center should win the game. So bishop to g3, I grab hold of this diagonal, which could be very important later on, and he goes bishop back to d6. He just defends his e5 pawn. And here, knight to h3. I still have to decide how to develop this knight, have to get my rooks into the game, so knight h3 to f2 to maybe somewhere could be possible in the future. So I go knight to h3, he goes rook h to e8, and I go rook h to e1. And pretty much all of the pieces are now developed, with the exception of me having, a funny knight here on h3. And here, I could attack his bishop with knight g5. So he brings the bishop back to g8. And also he will have some plans of shifting this bishop with h6 to h7 and grab hold of this diagonal. So I go bishop to a4. I want to bring the bishop here. And he goes a6. And now I played bishop to b3, which could be a bit premature. I could wait for him, let's say, to go b5 to then bring the bishop back, but I decided to do it right away. Also possible was king to b1, just a nice prophylactic move. But okay, I went bishop to b3. It's a 5-minute game, you don't have like all that much time. And he goes knight to d4. And my bishop to b3 move gave him the option of now just unpinning, as while the bishop was here, his rook would be under attack. So here he just unpins. I go queen d3, and he picks up the knight, the bishop. Knight captures on b3 with check, a captures on b3, and now just h6. And here, I noticed immediately that, of course, he doesn't want me to have the g5 square for the knight, so I just played bishop back to f2. And here I thought maybe I could use it, maybe some knight to a4 ideas, going to b6. The bishop is also very nice on this diagonal. However, he has a really strong move here, which he plays, of course. He plays bishop to b4. And now there's a problem, just d4, and, now I don't have any of those plans I was hoping for. I cannot really move the knight, and it's not all that impressive. I could try and sacrifice the exchange, but I didn't think I had any compensation for the exchange. So here I played rook to e2. But this rook to e2 move completely blunders the game. And I thought the quote above the board was fitting for this game, as, to avoid losing a piece, many a person has lost the game, which is kind of what happens here. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the absolute best winning move for Hikaru. I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on paying attention, as we already mentioned this move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's bishop to h7. And now all of a sudden, my queen is trapped. There's nowhere to go. I could of course go to d2, but then just d4. I run into the exact same idea that led me to move the rook to e2, so that's not really accomplishing anything. So after bishop to h7, the queen is really trapped. There is no square for the queen. So here I thought about just resigning, but then I spotted one idea that kind of could keep me in the game. I played knight to b5, and here I attack his queen also, and I was hoping for pawn captures, queen captures, and then I could maybe again have some threats here. Maybe I can bring the rooks into the game, who knows. It's a blitz game, at least I'm still surviving. However, to my horror, after this knight to b5 move, Hikaru like instantly played queen to a5, and here it's just game over. Because the bishop covers the d2 square, so the king has no escape square, and queen to a1 is the threat of mate, while my queen is also hanging on d3, so there's no escaping both of these threats. Again, I played a few more moves. Knight a7 check, he played king to b8, and now there is nothing. I do have this fork, however, there is no continuation after the pawn captures. I played c3, gave my king an escape square, but he just captured my queen. I captured on b4. Again, maybe if captures, I can still hope to do some damage. However, he just played queen to c7 check, and it was in this position that I resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once I deal with the check, he's gonna capture the rook, and then it's just I'm down too much material. So I did hang in there like for some 20 moves, but it's literally like the old saying goes: he who controls the center will win the game. Doesn't matter what you do, it's just having the center is just too good. So yeah, I don't know, I might do some research on the Dutch now that I see that it might come up in an important game, but I don't know, I kind of did enjoy that e4 pawn sacrifice in the beginning, so who knows, I might do some research, I might not. But yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, if you've missed the podcast, it's a bit less than 2 hours. So if you have some free time, do check it out. The links will be in the description below. We had a very nice talk, so you guys might enjoy that as well. I would like to thank Glenn Wilkinson, Max Gabriel Helm, Carl R. Weinberg, Stefano Marfia, and Gabriel Lindor for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Chessable Masters, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.